Thanks for joining me in today's episode, and what I want to share with you are 5 benefits to having a joint bank account. Stay tuned. There's this debate when it comes to your bank account with your spouse or maybe significant other or maybe a family member. Do I have a joint bank account or should I separate those things? In this video and episode, I'm going to share with you kind of the 5 benefits behind having a joint bank account. Again, there are some disadvantages as well, but there are some benefits. So it's up to you to decide what makes sense in your personal situation, whether, hey, you want to go ahead and have a joint bank account, or maybe you want to keep things separate. So let's start out with reason number 1, and that is saving on fees. Your joint money can help you reach a threshold of minimum balance requirements by some banks to avoid certain fees. So if you take a look at, let's say, here, Chase Bank, and we just go in and try and open a bank account, you can see there are certain things like where in order to avoid kind of a monthly service fee, you might need to have like $1,500 or more in this account, or an average balance of $5,000 or more. So as you start looking at some of the fine print behind these banks, you got to be able to meet some of those thresholds. And by having a joint account, it allows you to hit those thresholds maybe a little bit easier. Again, it's not going to be an issue for everybody, but for some people, maybe if you're trying to hit certain thresholds or requirements, here's one from PNC Bank, $500 in monthly direct deposit, or $500 monthly balance and spend reserve, or account holder is $62. Otherwise, it's $7. So there are different requirements that have to be met. So by having a joint bank account, you can save on some of these fees. Here's Wells Fargo, $500 minimum balance for kind of a checking account and so on. So anyways, those things change from time to time. But that's kind of one of the big things and reasons on maybe having a joint bank account may be beneficial. Another thing could be convenience. So allows simply to manage shared expenses like paying bills, buying groceries, and monitor money going in and out of the account. So if you look at this example here from Statista, a lot of the common expenses such as electric, rent, food, water, heating and cooling, and transport costs are often, shared. So if you look at the darker one, that is more separate, but the joint one is more the light blue one. So electric is kind of shared between many spouses or shared bank accounts. So this is something to consider. So if you have certain expenses that you want to share, then by all means, you can do it this way. Of course, you could go in and say, okay, well, I'll cover kind of the big 2, maybe the rent, and you cover everything else. Or I'll do rent and electric, and you do everything else like travel, phone expenses, and that kind of thing. So everybody's at a different point. But again, this is another reason, and it's a good benefit. That way, hey, we're sharing expenses, but we have an account to be able to do that as well. A third thing here is common financial goals. When you have a joint bank account, it makes it easier to work together towards a common goal. This could be like paying debt or saving money so that you can achieve that goal faster. And sometimes you could even save money on some of those things. Like, let's say you're going in on a vacation, and here's a vacation. You might be able to save certain costs. Now, obviously, you wouldn't be able to save money on things like food and alcohol and maybe entertainment. You might not be able to do that or save money on there. But if you're looking at things like lodging right here, you might be able to, anytime you're sharing a bed, you'll be able to save money that way. And sometimes if you're getting like a taxi transport, if you're paying for a taxi, if you're going to the same spot, again, you'll be able to share or save some money there. Things like airfare, obviously you can't because each ticket is paid for. But, when you're doing anything with the taxi, that could be kind of saved for. So anyways, my point is that you might be able to go in and save a bit of money from certain things, not everything, but from certain things. And because you have this common financial goal, you might be able to reach that goal faster. Like, let's say you're trying to buy a brand new camera or something like that. Well, now both of you could use it, but if you put in 500 and the other person puts in 500, now you could buy $1,000 camera, and you could maybe save for it a lot faster than you would if you were to try and save the $1,000 all on your own. Okay? So let's take a look at number 4, and that is accountability. Sharing the same account can help you both think twice before making a financial decision. It helps you keep each other check in the spending habits. So we've talked about, buying a camera. So here's an example. We go to B&H Photo, cool place to buy some camera gear and photo gear. But look, some cameras are $5,496. You could get this Nikon Z9 mirrorless camera, the Canon EOS R5, and Sony A7 version 4 mirrorless cameras. And I mean, look at them, they're $2,500. If you were kind of on your own, you might say, hey, I'll go ahead and splurge, right? If you're a spender and your partner maybe is not a spender and you have a joint account, well, the person who's not a spender might kind of look at you and say, what did you just do? What just happened? They might say, go ahead and return the camera, even if you take a little bit of a hit from the return fees and maybe the restocking fees. But the point is it'll keep you in check. There's accountability here. And you might even think twice before making a purchase of this size. So again, everybody's bank account's a little bit different, but it's something that you may want to think about as you go in and make some crazy spending things, much more so than maybe just buying it frivolously on your own. All right, let's look at number 5 here, and that is ease things in case of tragedy. So if you have a joint bank account, it can make things easier in the event of a death. I mean, it can happen to anybody. So it allows the surviving holder to have direct and immediate access to the funds. So, let's just say something bad happens. You just never know when it's going to happen. And now you have all these expenses that maybe you share, and you're sharing electric, might be rent or mortgage, but it's coming out of that other person's bank account and they passed away, unfortunately, maybe from a car accident. And now you have to take over those expenses. If you don't have a joint bank account, what's going to happen is you have to make those payments. Otherwise, those payments are going to be late. And if you don't have the funds or the money or the income and you can't access them quickly enough, that's going to be an issue and a problem. So it may take a couple months for things to go through probate or to figure things out or to sort things out. It just makes things more complicated if you don't have a joint bank account and you kind of need that money fairly quickly. So having that joint bank account does help out. I also find, even in a personal situation where you're not in a spousal relationship, but something that my mom and myself have done is my mom added me to her bank account. That way, if anything happens, in case she's incapacitated, not thinking right, whatever the case is, my name is on that bank account as a joint bank account holder. So that way, if something does happen with her, that I could go ahead and take over as needed to be able to either pay things from that bank account for her house related items, whether the lawn needs to be cut and I have to hire somebody, or whatever the case may be. So even as your parents get older and continue to age, or somebody who's important to you in your life, sometimes this could also be a nice benefit to having a joint bank account, that when they pass away, it's just easy for you to also just take care of the next steps in personal finances, rather than making more work later down the road where you got to go ahead and run around and take care of a lot of paperwork to making it happen. So anyways, I hope this helps and gives you some tips and insights to, hey, why you might want to have a dual or joint bank account. There's quite a handful of benefits. Obviously, there's a few downsides to it as well, but that could be covered in another video that I have. So anyways, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're joining us on podcast, feel free to check out the video that we have, and you can also visit our website as well. I'll see you next time.